Is it Mary?
They actually have 3.
Yes.
Inspired.
For us, they gave us 2.
Good evening, I'm calling the meeting to order. Please join us for a pledge of allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I would like a motion to approve this evening's agenda.
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve tonight's agenda, January 17th, 2023.
Support.
Okay, motion was made by Commissioner Catane and supported by Commissioner Stroh. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion is carried. The minutes?
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes, regular meeting and closed session held January 3rd, 2023.
Support. Motion was made by Commissioner Catane and supported by Commissioner Swindell. Was a discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion is carried. Okay, now we are to public comments, and I'm pleased to have Brad Hagedorn here tonight, who is requested to be on our agenda at the first meeting of each month, and I'm thrilled to have you give your report.
Yes, greetings from the county. Not a whole lot to talk about tonight. The big thing that we have approved at the county level is we are going with Oakland County for medical examiner services. We will no longer use the Michigan Institute of Forensic Science and Medicine. There's some behind the scenes drama going on up there that we don't want to get sucked into as a county. We did send in late December, early January, the grant applications for the Middle Mile project, which is we put in broadband fibers in the ground throughout the county. We will find out in March if we get approved for those. And then on a personal level, I've been appointed to all the committee assignments possible for the city of Lapeer, except for the Lapeer Development Corporation, which Kevin Isley out of District 3 has been appointed to, but I'll serve on the TIFA board, the LDFA board, Historic Courthouse board. So with that, I'll entertain any questions. Sorry, I don't have a whole lot to say.
Does any of the commission have any questions for Commissioner Hagedorn?
Appreciate it. Thank
Not
you.
this time. Thank you. Okay, is there anybody else who would like to make a public comment at this time? Please state your name and address, and you have up to 3 minutes.
Jenny Burkhart from here, and I know I come here to pray often, and sometimes I read scripture, and I was asking the Lord what He had me to say today, and I just felt this particular scripture. This is in 2 Timothy 3. It said, "But mark this, there will be terrible times in the last days. People will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, boastful, proud, abusive, disobedient to their parents, ungrateful, unholy, without love, unforgiving, slanderous, without self-control, brutal, not lovers of the good, treacherous, rash, conceited, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God, and having a form of godliness but denying its power." And I was reading that, thinking about that, and I was just thinking about it's kind of like a litmus test for I feel like where our world can be going. But I always want to offer hope, and that's why I come and I pray. I'm a caseworker in Oakland County, and so I have one foot in the secular and like 1 foot in the heavenly realm here, So I'm not coming at this like I haven't been in your shoes or I don't understand the natural, the realm that I work in. But I know our problems, and again, I work with people who are doctors, psychiatrists, neurologists, and so I understand there really is a place for, all of us. But I just know at the heart, it's the heart that God can change. We can medicate, we can give people all sorts of resources, but it's the heart that God is after. He loves us, we're created in His image. So Heavenly Father, I just thank you, Lord God, for everybody here. There's so much talent here. There's smart people with so many gifts and talents, and we are so grateful for what they can bring to the table. So God, we ask for wisdom. Every meeting, every decision that they have, those that are in front of us and those that are happening behind closed doors. God, I'm asking you to put a super on their natural because we need both of them. So I just bless everybody here, Lord, in Jesus' name. Amen.
Anybody else like to make a public comment at this time? Okay, we will move on. The consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Support.
Motion has been made to support the consent agenda, to move the consent agenda by Commissioner Stowe and supported by Commissioner Kane. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion is carried. Bill listing. Commissioner Bassett.
Make a motion to approve the bill listing for January 17th, 2023, in the amount of $1,609,480.94.
Support. Motion was made by Commissioner Patterson and supported by Commissioner Swindell to approve the bill listing. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion is carried. That brings us to administrative reports for the ordinance amendment.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to introduce an ordinance amendment to Chapter 14, Vehicles and Traffic.
Support. This is just introduced by one commissioner. Motion has been made to introduce, was introduced by a commissioner. Oh, yeah, so it's done. All right, that brings us to the reporter rate for the executive recruitment services.
So in your packet were 4 different proposals that we received from Michigan-based recruitment services. There were 2 that had timelines that would meet the objective of the commission the last time we spoke, to have somebody work with me. So the most affordable of those was the Pivot Group Municipal Services, and I thought they had a very nice proposal. Their timeline was good, and the price was right, so I've recommended them to you to hire for the project of manager recruitment.
Well, the commissioners have reviewed the packet. This motion would have to be put forth us before we can do any discussion. Commissioner Patel.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to hire Walsh Municipal Services to 1, immediately aid the city of Lapeer in hiring an interim city manager for up to 6 months, and then 2, in hiring a new full-time city manager. Interim to be on staff no later than March 1st, sooner the better. All documents to be signed by the mayor and the city manager.
Motion has been put before us by Commissioner Patel. Is there support from another commissioner? Support. And motion has been supported by Commissioner Swindell. Now, discussion. Commissioner Patel.
We are heading into a situation the city hasn't seen in 2 decades nearly. I don't want us to be in a situation where the time is against us, our backs are against the wall, and we end up making a decision that we regret. I think going with an interim option allows for a smoother transition and less pressure to be in a situation to pick somebody that may not be the best fit for the city. We have an interim, then we have an acting city manager as we go through applicants until we find the person that fits right for us.
Well, the comments I'd like to add to that are the goal that I was informed the last time we talked was that you wanted to have somebody in place to work with me to go over projects that are currently happening, interact with the city staff so that I could give them some, counseling isn't the right word, but to
Show me the ropes.
yeah, and bringing on an interim would defeat that. It's an additional cost for no benefit, because of course then you miss the opportunity to work with me if we bring on an interim manager and hire or look at hiring after I have retired.
And some of the research that I did do, to hire an interim, there's the cost for the initial of them working, but there is no cost for some of the companies to do that. Now, when we said that, we thought that would be a good idea, there's a lot more in this as we research it. I think it's really important that whether it's an interim or a manager, of course, our top priority is our department heads, our city of Lapeer, our employees, our city of Lapeer residents, and then of course the businesses within the city of Lapeer. And I feel that that would help strengthen everything and work and have the knowledge with our department heads as well on what their needs are, because we don't really know everything. Obviously, we don't know everything. That is what is the top priority for me, because I want to make this as smooth transition as possible. Not that the other wouldn't necessarily be, but we want to take great thought in how we move forward. Of course, in a very positive light. We have a lot of changes coming up, and you have done a good job. You're into like, I don't know, these 10 different boards. Most of them are probably city related, so we have some business to wrap up there as well. And I'm hoping that it would be an interim, obviously still going to be working with you to find out what the needs are. And then of course we've got a budget coming up. And there's just always a lot of business here, and not to mention 15 projects moving forward. There's just a lot.
That's why I don't understand what you're saying. Why would you want to put someone in the middle to miss all the opportunity to work together?
Well, that interim, I don't understand what you mean by.
So if someone
Yes.
comes in and works for a month or 6 months while the professional research firms have almost identical processes. So you go through the process, you actually go through it twice to put an interim in, instead of doing it quickly and follow through. It'll be the same number or same candidates that you would get in a month or in 3 months. And then there would be an opportunity to work with me for all those reasons you mentioned.
Well, it may not be the same group of people. I know that the MML, when I researched their list of interim managers, you could go in and get their resumes. There was a lot of information there on them, and some of them had the experience. Well, a lot of them, they all had the experience, but a lot of them were more on the retired.
Exactly.
So, but that doesn't mean that they don't know what's going on.
No, but they would
give
not.
their expertise.
They would not take, they're not there to take the job, to move forward with it. They're to be the intro. That's why I say the people that would be interviewing to take the job full time would be the same exact people that you would interview if you interviewed them in a month or if you interviewed them in 3 or 4 months.
It may not be. When you were hired, we also had an assistant manager at that time that was kind of more in between as well. Commissioner Katane.
This interim theoretically could apply to be the full permanent city manager in the future. You know, that person theoretically has an opportunity to prove their moxie and worth to this commission, and we may very well be in a position to say, hey, this is the guy, the 5 of us, or gal, the 5 of us look at the bear and says, this is who we want. Just because that person's the interim doesn't mean they're out of the running to be the future person.
Well, I think that's very unlikely because someone that's a full-time professional manager isn't going to leave their job to be a interim manager, hoping that they will get it after the interim time is done. Again, this group that would apply, the full-time professional managers, they're not interim managers. They're full-time managers now doing something else. They would apply and then they would come to work here.
Well, I understand that there must be some reason why interim managers are hired because a lot of cities do. Commissioner,
It's,
so,
it's my experience when dealing with interims is that usually they are professionals that have gone into a quasi-retirement, that have thrown themselves into an association, that they are there to assist the municipality and or an organization transition into a full-time. They oftentimes, and I would say 90% of the time, are not looking for a full-time career in that capacity. So I do have to agree with Dale that if we're going to do this search when the time is, the time is on our side, and of course we want to make the right decisions and the right moves and have the appropriate candidates. I don't think that any of our choices need to be quickly made or rash. I think that finding the best suitable candidate is the most important thing. My only concern, of course, is the climate in which we are in, that we might have to utilize an interim if we find that there are no candidates. But I think that we should probably go with the process of recruiting and trying to hire. And if we find ourselves at a point and we need to find a time or a timetable, that we would then say we need to secure the services of an interim until this time because we're not able to find a suitable candidate at this time. Keeping in mind that we have many projects in development and growth, I still think that that is probably the better way to go, is to go with let's secure a full-time transition. I would also like to see us revisit getting an assistant. I've often said that I think that the job is just far too large and that I think the city is getting far too complex to have one person. I think we need to have a second in command, that we need that as well. So that might be something that we need to discuss as a search for an assistant at this time as well.
that was one of my concerns that you mentioned was going through the process and perhaps not finding the right candidate. I remember a conversation with one of the people that we interviewed when we were interviewing. And we asked them, well, why would you like to come to the city of Lapeer? And their response was, well, I'm not sure that I want to work here. But that was one of our people, So a lot can happen. I mean, that was bizarre, but that would be my concern, is that if we have that choice to be able to, if time is too short, as long as we can do that, that's fine. I just don't want to be pressured. Okay, we gotta select somebody because our time is up. That's my big thing.
And that might be I'm sorry, David, go ahead.
No, actually, I was wanted to hop in with what you're saying. Should we say that if we don't have a person by the first meeting of March, that we should, on Monday, the 6th of March, say, hey, listen, we got 3.5 weeks left, so we pull the trigger and get to that interim at that point in time.
If you're going with the recommendation that I'm
Yes.
making, I would say that we do need to come up with a date.
Right.
That if we do not find a suitable replacement by this date,
Yes.
that we will then exercise the right of an interim and continue the search until said person is found. I think that could actually be okay. I mean, I'm concerned that it gets a little bit close, but I think we're gonna need that time. even for just hiring a full-time person, to get them in at the 1st of March to give, some adequate time with Dale just to sort of get a lay of the land. I think that might be wise.
Um, I do support Commissioner Stroh's comments. I feel the city needs to move forward with a permanent solution rather than an intimate, or temporary. We have a lot of things going on. The faster we're operating, the better. The other question I just have is, I'd like to know why Walsh? What qualities do they have that make?
I like their
us choose them?
presentation much better, in my opinion, than the pivotal.
Okay,
One of the things I
That's a small
caught
amount
with
of
them is they have a guarantee. So if we end up in a situation where we've selected a city manager that we find within a year we're not satisfied, they'll come in and redo the search for a new one on the house for 1 year.
okay, and
So-
Pivot also has that,
Do they?
yes.
Well, I didn't catch up with that.
And Pivot is less money.
I wasn't really impressed with Pivotal's presentation.
Okay.
And I just have a quick question. Have we used Pivot before with any of our searches?
No.
Have we worked with any of the other units of the MML? We
No.
haven't had a need
No.
to.
When, I believe when they did the search for me 18 years ago, the MML did that.
Oh, you mean for your position? I did not see anything in their documentation that showed that, maybe they didn't put that one back.
No. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Commissioner Rattler.
Yeah, just to kind of ditto the conversation. I mean, I would like to see a full-time city manager as well. I mean, given the circumstances, we're going from an 18-year veteran and to stay kind of in a holding pattern for 6 months isn't, in my opinion, isn't ideal for what we have going on. So I have to put my trust in whatever company that we hire, that they're gonna do a good job, and get the best quality candidates for us. I kind of also like the idea of having, a questionnaire, go through the commission, the staff, and certain stakeholders in our community. I kind of like that idea because city manager's gonna have to work with us and staff and stakeholders in the city. So I think if we can get, our answers aligned and going in a good direction, I think we can get good quality candidates. I do see that we just don't want to go, without a city manager. I get that point. But if we could, I'd like to see us go with a full-time city manager.
My thoughts on hiring an interim was not to necessarily go 6 months and certainly not to put a hold on the city. But
Right.
it is to guide us on all levels with the consulting company working immediately as well for that. Just want to make sure that we've covered all of our bases and that we're
I get that.
really taking care of this. But I'm open to, obviously, what the
I mean,
commission wants.
At the same time, I wouldn't want to have an intern, chief of police or intern fire. I mean, if we needed to, yes, but it's a pretty important position. I mean, it's the face of our community, and I think that, and, I mean, there's nothing wrong with an intern, but like Commissioner Stroh said, that most of them are retired, and it's a side gig,
Retired,
it's a side
You're
gig.
too old.
Well,
I know what you mean. I shouldn't have made a joke out of that.
I'm gonna withdraw my motion, and I'll let one of my fellows.
Motion has been withdrawn by Commissioner Cotain. Or
Do you withdraw
the
your,
supporter?
do you withdraw?
You'd have to withdraw as well. Okay, the motion has been withdrawn. Do I have to put that for a vote? Okay. All right, so now we're back to the drawing board again. Commissioner Patterson.
Okay, I'd make a motion to approve the contract with Pivot Group Municipal Services for the executive recruitment search for the position of city manager and allow the city manager to sign all necessary documentation.
Support.
Motion has been made and seconded by Commissioner Patterson, supported by Commissioner Atwood. Discussion, Commissioner Cotain.
I believe this is something the mayor should also be involved in signing, no? Or not?
We're the ones that are here. A lot of times we do sign documents together.
I have no problem with that if that's what the contract situation is.
No problem.
Yes.
Commissioner Stroh.
The only question that I have, when looking over, and I understand, actually, they're all very comparable. Pivot, of course, is the most affordable, but given the significance of this position, when looking over these firms, I was, and not just because I like to spend a lot of money, but I was swayed by the presentation of Amy Sell LLC, given the roster of other municipalities that they have served and worked with. And I don't want us to be frugal to a fault, but I would like to feel comfortable that Pivot has the same background of candidates available. Granted, it is a significant savings of about $9,000, but in the same token, I don't want us to be foolish about not spending money when there are other firms that have track records with municipalities. Dale, do you have any feeling? I'm sorry, I was.
Commissioner Patterson. And then I'll go to Gail.
The main reason I'm supporting Pivot is their lead search. I've seen the work of the person. If we could get him to be city manager of Lapeer, I'd hire him. He's very impressive, and I think he has the qualities that everyone on this board wants to see. And I think he would search that type of candidate for the city. And that's why I like Pivot, not just the price.
Yeah. You wanna-
Well, to comment on I think your question was, Sal has quite a list of people. Frank Walsh has quite a list of people. I don't believe it's necessarily because they are better, but they have been in the business longer than Pivot. They're all good companies, and I defaulted to the cost, because that really is the only measurable that's different amongst them. And some didn't have a very good time frame. So.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. Discussion. It has. Good. Any other discussion on that?
Should we, just in case for fall safe, set a time in our minds to say, hey, if we don't have a person selected by X amount of time, we need to get together?
I think you would let the search firm know that, so they would have a backup ready.
Do we know if it does that? That they would probably know. You said you talked to the MMO and they had, that was. Well, for interim. Right, they don't. It'd be up to us to find it. They provided the list and the rest of us, but they don't assist in how. All right. All those in favor of going with pivotal? Opposed? Okay, that motion is carried. Now, Dale, you will, I see.
I'll let
To
them know.
notify them right away and to notify the other companies, I guess, that the
Absolutely.
decision was made to go with the other bid.
Sure, and I'll make sure that they get the contact information so they can get rolling right away with each of you.
What do I need? We're under, do you mean under?
Various matters, yes. I'm able to report that I have had multiple confirmations with U.S. Congressman McLean's office, Congresswoman McLean's office, that we have received funding for the Genesee Street Bridge project. That was a $2 million earmark that I submitted with them months ago. During the last budget vote, it was approved for funding, and we will be doing a more elaborate presentation of that down the road. But at this point, we know that it has been funded. We have confirmation. Originally, the confirmation was from someone in the office, but then I asked again, and we have double, triple confirmation now that we have been funded. So $2 million. They have not determined the time frame for releasing the funds or the method in which the grant will be given, if it's going to be just a check or a grant form that we have to follow, but we have that funded. So excellent news. The other day I discovered there was some odd, I don't know if anyone else has noticed it, asphalt marking on Oregon Street. I got a hold of Jeff's group. They went out and checked, and it appears a section of Oregon Street's asphalt is delaminating. So we have the contractor here, the warranties being imposed, and they will be working on that. If you notice that, know that we are on it, and the project is going to be repaired. I don't know if you noticed, but just before the holidays, the street lights on John Connolly were very rusty. They had the old style heads on them. We had put in with DTE to change the contract on those, get them to LED heads. So they were painted basically over the holidays. So they've been painted, restored, and they now all have LED heads. They all match. The money that we received because of the state of emergency with the water system is being put to use. We are installing our variable speed drives on all of our wells. We will be installing a generator on in-place generator on well 3. And we'll also be doing phosphate injection system to go along with the chlorine injection. And we'll be getting all that covered at the costs of the state of emergency funding that we applied for and received. So as soon as those projects are done, they will reimburse us for the work. So that will be going on. You'll see that activity around the well houses in town, and so if you see people at them, that's what'll be happening. And the final item is skates. We did an RFP for skates. As you know, we didn't get any responses. We didn't get a response from the person that gave us a proposal before or from anyone else. I talked to many different organizations that handle skates, from the Saginaw Bay Hockey Association. A few people took it upon themselves once we started the RFP to reach out to other groups. We didn't get a proposal. So we have a group that is willing to provide us 75 to 100 pairs of used skates at $10 a pair. They have asked they reached out to the Explorers program through the Sheriff's Department to maintain them. We haven't gotten an answer back on that yet, but I thought I would purchase the 100 pairs of skates, make them available on site. We'll have a group arranged to maintain them on a regular basis, and we'll have skates. And then we can shift over to Rodney, the idea of entertainment nights like you do at the rec center for certain events, for the side of the project that would be the lighting, the music, and entertainment during certain weekends of the winter. And then maybe next year we'll do a proposal earlier in the year and be able to find someone that would like to take that on a full-time basis.
Do you have a record of when the actual packets went out to these various
Sure.
companies? Because my understanding is that the person that we were working with, the conversations, did not receive their packet until after it was due. So they didn't have the opportunity to submit the proposal.
Ramona handled the
December
actual,
16th.
what was it?
December 16th.
December 16th, they went out, and he was definitely in the group that were sent the proposal by the clerk's office.
And when did it have to be done?
January 3rd.
January 3rd. Which was the last commission meeting.
Is that one?
Is that a rumor, or is that something he told you directly?
Not me direct.
Because we didn't get his proposal back in the mail, so I assumed that it was delivered.
Bringing it up because that's what we get over to, so we make sure to have T's crossed.
And that's it.
Okay, that brings us to the city attorney's report. Dennis?
Thank you. I've been working on 2 tax tribunal cases. I've met with Denise Marilyn Lovely about them once already, but I'm going to meet with her again either later this week or next week. Then we're going to decide whether or not we need to litigate them or not, or we can settle, which we usually do settle. I have 3 city income tax cases that settled this week. I don't know if all of you know that, if people don't pay their taxes, we have to file criminal charges against them. And, we don't like to do it, but, we've collected a lot of taxes that way. And 3 people paid in full this week, so I thought that was pretty good news. And we're finishing up the famous condemnation case that was stopping our trail from going through, and that should be completely finished by the end of this month. That's all I have.
Thank you. Okay, that brings us to appointments for boards and commissions, and at this time, we do not have any recommendations. And in your packet, of course, was the Department of Communications, all your reports. That brings us to public comments. Is there a public comment from anybody this evening? Hearing none, then we can go into closing comments from the commissioners. Commissioner Katane.
Okay, fine. Well, one, I'd like to say, I hate to say it because it's a morbid thing, but the numbers as far as overdose deaths from 21 to 22 have improved, thank God. So we had 20, and from the report from the chief of police, we had six deaths due to overdose in 2021 and one this year, which is still one too many, but at least that number's moving in a good direction. God willing, it'll be 0 in 23. I just want to give some thanks. I got a thank you card from the Family Literacy Center. It's a nice surprise to walk into City Hall and get a thank you card. They asked me to talk to some of the teenagers as far as finances and bills and credit cards and the do's and don'ts and how to grow your credit score and don't fall into the trap. Yeah, you need a credit card, but don't let it abuse you because it will. That kind of stuff. So it was really good because nobody really talked to me at that age. Nobody felt the need to because I was the money guy anyway. I already knew math, but nobody said, "Hey, how do you get ready to buy a house? You want to buy a house someday, right?" Yeah. Okay. Well, you don't have any debt like a car payment or a credit card your whole life. You have no credit score. Guess what? You're not buying. You're not buying a house. You don't have a credit score. So it was good. I like that. But there's other things on my mind. Well, the future is always going to be brighter, and it is a little early, but retirement is everybody's goal. So since that was the first spot, I hope nothing but the happiness in your retirement when it comes, because we all shoot for that. I'm not.
Yeah, January is Human Trafficking Awareness Month. So I'd just like to talk about that real quick. There's a group out there, Operation Underground Railroad. Their website is ourrescue.org. If you want to see more information on what they're doing. I pulled some of this information off their website, but it's one of the fastest growing criminal enterprises in the world, worldwide. There's an estimated 27.6 million people, adults and children, subjected to human trafficking, and that's anywhere from work to sex slavery. But since 2013, OUR operations and aftercare efforts have led to the rescue of over 6,000 survivors and the arrest of over 4,000 predators. OUR has expanded into 40 countries, and they are in 50 U.S. states. So all they help by they have operations team. They work with host governments to carry out undercover operations, and they have an aftercare team already set up with the operating team to ensure that vetted aftercare services are in place prior to operations. I mean, being involved in something like that, there's a lot of damage to that individually, emotionally, physically, mentally, and there's a lot of care that has to go into dealing with that. But they also work with cutting-edge tools and resources in the U.S. law enforcement agencies to help expand and multiply their anti-human trafficking efforts, such like GHOST in Genesee County. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of GHOST, but Sheriff Swanson. But they have a little training online. I've done the Operation Underground Railroad pre-training. It's just to be aware of, look for signs of human trafficking. I also just did the GHOST. They have free training as well. That one takes about 4 hours. You got to watch 3 videos and do an exam or a little questionnaire test at the end. And what is shocking is the U.S. is one of the biggest consumers of sexual exploitation in the world. So the U.S. is really driving human trafficking here in the U.S., especially the sex slave industry. And I'm just going to shout out the National Human Trafficking Hotline, 1-888-373-7888, just to help shed a little light on this worldwide darkness, and it does affect a lot of children, especially in the U.S. The majority of them are coming out of the system, and being about 50 to 60% of the sex slaves and the children are coming out of foster care system. So it's pretty prevalent darkness that is spreading across the world. In the U.S., it's sad to say, is one of the biggest fueling that fire. And that's it.
Commissioner Still. Hold on.
Dale, thank you so much for all of your years of service, and I'm looking forward to transitioning you into a graceful retirement. And I just want to thank you again for all of your work. I do want to say that, Lapeer continues to be a culturally challenged community, and that's recognized by the state of Michigan even through its funding. And so what's encouraging is that we have some amazing programs that are in place. The Center for the Arts has a show on now that I highly recommend. It's been a long time since I've seen that organization present an art show of such quality. It's called Microscope, and it is amazing. It's magnification of quilting, and it's I highly recommend going and seeing it in our own art gallery in the city. Also, it's fantastic on a Friday and Saturday to see that parking is a challenge in our city. And it usually is because activities and events are happening within our city. When the Center for the Arts or Stone's Throw Theater or any of our nonprofit organizations are holding an event within the community, it not only drives up our revenue and our commerce, but the rest, specifically with restaurants, and also parking becomes a premium, which is, we haven't seen that in quite some time. So that's a luxury that I love to see, but I also want to make sure that we also just recognize that we still are sort of a cultural challenged community. And so those of us that are heavily invested in the arts will continue to do so. Go out, support them. We need your support in cultural arts, also in some city art and public art displays. So I know that we've got some plans for some things coming up for the city and the DDA and the Downtown Development District. So keep that in your scope as well. So but thank you again, Dale. And that's really all I have tonight.
Commissioner Swindell. I have reached out to the kids that we appointed to the youth council last meeting. And I don't have their contact information. I don't have their original applications. I only have their friends' phone numbers. So that's how I'm trying to reach them, and I have had no luck yet. I have two other kids through the high school. I went into the high school, and I have two other kids that I'm getting with this weekend to get with their parents and fill out their applications as well. Please, so just a little update. And then as soon as I have one more on board that I contact, we can then have a meeting. And the high school is putting on their musical next month of Mamma Mia. That's where I ran into kids that were willing to do it because they're all into all kinds of things. The theater and the music kids are the kids that do all things. So if you can get tickets to see the show, they sell out fast and they go on sale next week. That's all. Bishop Bess.
I'd like to thank our county commissioner for coming in. Appreciate it. Communication is a two-way street, so if we can ever, you need us, ask, please. Otherwise, that's all I have.
Yeah, I'd just like to add that I attended the concert at the Center for the Arts, the Picks, on Saturday night. It was packed. Downtown, that end of town was very busy. The restaurants were full of people that ended up at the concert. I saw several of them. So excellent activity coming out of that building and the others. So it's great to see them bringing in the type of things that people really want to go visit. And thank you for your comments. So,
All right, my turn. Thank you, Dale, for, I guess I'm not really probably enough to state myself, but I'm the only one here, I think, that have worked with you for 18 plus years. A couple of years prior, I was on the commission. So I've seen a lot of changes. I'm sorry that you kind of want to retire, but I'm happy for you at the same time because I do know what retirement's about. You will get busier, obviously, in whatever you decide to do, and I wish you well in all your future endeavors. And most of all, I want to thank you for what you have done for the city of Lapeer. I got some information here on the clerk, so I may be talking to some commissioners too. You might get nominated. It's not, no, just look at that like
Four or
crazy. We have the choice to nominate a clerk,
I'll clear it.
which would be you. We think you are the best. And this is for nomination for the clerk of the year. And you are the clerk of the year. So, thank you for all you have done for us. We appreciate it. You know, it was a lot. I'm gonna go back to human trafficking. I know that this does exist here. It's been here for quite a while. There has been some reports done on this in the past. I'm not sure what the schools are now doing to continue to keep that information amongst their students, to make them aware. I hope there's some programs, maybe at some point, Chief, how you can give us a little update later on of what law enforcement does, what groups you're working with for this. We'd be blind to think that it's not happening in the city of Lapeer because it does. Appreciate it. Thank you for everything tonight, and motion is in order to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion has been made. Oh,
Too late. Oh,
I have a book here from Blaine's Fleet that both Dale and I were presented, and I wanted to share mine with the commissioners. If you'd like to review this one at a time, I'm happy to bring it to give it to you. And I even brought a bag so that doesn't get rained on. It's a very nice book.
Good, Denise.
It was me. Sorry. Sorry.